In the past year and a half, not only has she acquired 4 properties for a total of 11 doors, but she also quit her W-2 job. Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Jay Helms, and if you're new here, if this is your first time discovering the W-2 Capitalist, we as the W-2 Capitalists are a resource for married men and women who want to build multiple streams of income through real estate investing so that they can be more present both mentally and physically. Mentally and physically with their spouse and their children. And we also want to help put you on a path toward building generational wealth. Personally, I want to be the guy that helps you remove that stress and anxiety that comes with financially providing for your growing family. So today's episode, I think, is going to be hugely inspiring for you, is with Miss Cindy Byler. Cindy is a military Army spouse of 7 years to her high school sweetheart, Jonas. After the first, I paused there because I was going to say something about Jonas being in such amazing shape. He just won some amazing award for the Army, talking about how much of a badass he is. Anyway, after the first change of duty station, she found herself needing to put her career as a music teacher on hold to move 3 times in 3 years. Gotta love the Army life. During that season of not working, she grew bitter toward the lifestyle. She had much value to add, but felt unable to do so, right? So through much reflection and improvements in personal finances, Cindy realized the best job security for their military lifestyle was through passive income. And ultimately this led to investing in real estate. As a buy and hold real estate investor, Cindy primarily invests in her hometown area in Elmira, New York. She has been a landlord for 5 years. In the past 1.5 years, she has acquired a total of 4 properties and 11 doors. Every unit has gone through or is going through extensive remodeling, doing all this remotely. It's pretty amazing. To make things more interesting, she currently lives in Central Texas, where her husband is stationed at Fort Hood. So all acquisitions, remodeling, rentals, property management managed over the 1,600 miles away. And as I mentioned in the intro, Cindy also resigned from her job as a music teacher to stay home with her young children and focus on building the business that's going to create this legacy wealth for them that's already replaced her income in such little time. Let's bring her in. Cindy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
I am super excited about this. For those of you who don't know, Cindy Byler, she is the inner voice in my ear that makes me second guess before I ever post anything or email anything out. Is it grammatically correct? Hey, by the way, I meant to tell you that I have installed Grammarly. I think that was your recommendation, but I finally got it. And I look at that every time I think of typing something up and it comes up, I was like, Cindy would be proud.
Oh, I almost bought like a plaque that I saw at a gift shop. It said, I am secretly or silently correcting your grammar as we speak.
Well, I want to thank you for not silently correcting my grammar, but very publicly correcting me. And because I think it helps. It does. It helps me. So thank you for that. But Cindy, we're here to talk a little bit about real estate investing and how awesome you are and how all the amazing things that you've been able to accomplish since you've started real estate investing. So for the folks who don't know you, kind of your background, let's dive into that a little bit. Where you began, you're married, you got a couple of kids, maybe a few pets that I don't know about, but tell me, let the audience know who you are and all that good stuff.
Sure. So these days I identify as an active duty military spouse, as a mother. Until recently I was a teacher, and now I'm a real estate investor. So I wear many hats. I married my high school sweetheart when I was 21. I think we started dating when I was 17. So we've been together for a while, like a whole lifetime it feels like. He's in the military. We've moved around plenty, have gone through plenty of career changes in the process. We have 2 beautiful children, ages 3 and 5. And yeah, we're living the dream.
Living the dream. I love it. I love it. So that's amazing. You don't hear a lot of people who marry their high school sweetheart. That's pretty incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I knew that.
I've known Jonas since I was 14, actually.
Okay.
He was the only nerd in
when
math
you were at band
class.
camp?
No, we didn't go to band camp together, but we
Okay.
were in band together. He was the drummer and I played flute and clarinet and other things. And we were in track together as well. So I've
Oh.
known him since I was 14. He was the only nerd who did his math homework. He scored higher than me on the SAT. So like we've been through it all together.
Did you got, no, all right. So when it comes to math, that's somewhat of my specialty, although probably not now, but when I was in school, who cheated off of who? You can admit it now. It's not going to go on your permanent record. You're okay.
No, he was in the back of the room. I wasn't near him. I was pretty good at math, but he beat me.
Yeah.
He's also 2.5 years older. So like I was in the advanced math class and he was still catching up from homeschooling. So
wow.
Yeah.
So there's no competitiveness between you and your husband at all, is what I just picked up on.
I wouldn't go there.
Sarcasm is pretty thick.
My college GPA was higher.
Like, do y'all sit around and talk about who's best at what and kind of punch and jab at each other? Or?
Yeah, sometimes, but he's about to go get his doctorates. I told him he can win this one. I'm stopping at masters.
No, yeah, I'm with. So when we first moved to Pensacola, my wife decided she wanted to be a realtor, and she went and got her realtor's license, passed the exam on the first try, and since then she's let it lapse. But I've thought about trying to get mine because we're now full time and we're doing all this stuff, and you know, and this is a couple of years ago, so I was still working at the time, but I took the pre-exam. I studied. I did everything you're supposed to do. I even went as far as having my fingerprints done. Was talking to brokerages and whatnot, and I was like, I don't feel like I'm going to pass this test. Like I knew I don't test very well, like just exam stuff. I don't do that. And when it came to me to schedule the time for, I didn't do it. I did not schedule the state exam or go take it because I knew I was going to fail it, and I did not want her to have that hanging over me for the rest of our lives. Like, hey, you know, I passed the realtor exam my first try. What happened to you? Because we have that competitiveness with ourselves too.
It's healthy.
Right now, I think it's who can get the most sleep with all of our kids and stuff, and I'm winning that race. So that's,
you're the pro napper, right?
Oh, I am. I love taking naps. They're getting shorter for some reason. They're usually, I know I've talked about this in the mastermind, but you know, there's days where I'll take like a 2-hour nap, and my wife's like, "That's not a nap. That's sleeping for the second time." I was like, no. I'm above the covers. I'm above the covers with a blanket. So it's a nap, right? And, but now they're like 15, 30 minutes, and I wake up refreshed, ready to go. And it's amazing. Of course,
you're more efficient.
Yeah. So, you've been investing for how long now?
Actively, like on purpose, for about 19 months now.
Okay. So how does one not invest, or invest on accident, or not on purpose?
Well, we've technically been landlords for about 6 years now. We bought our first property with a residential mindset, is what I call it. So we were planning to live there. We were still modest in our purchase, but it's not like we were running our numbers to see if it would make a good investment opportunity. We're like, we're going to live here and we're going to enjoy it, and that's the end of it. But the lovely military had other plans. So, which is how it works. Within a year and a half of living in the property, they gave us orders for my husband to go to school in San Antonio. And so at that point, we were like, shoot, we just bought this property. We can't afford to sell it, because in that market, the sellers pay the commissions. And so we decided to put it up for rent. And I was very adamant on finding a property manager because I did not want to have to evict anyone. I was like, I don't want to deal with all the legalities of this. So we actually found some pretty good property managers. And we rented it for like 3 or 4 years before we sold the property. And I think overall we did take a little bit of a loss, But it was a good experience because it showed me that long distance investing is possible.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
worked. And I feel like a lot of investors allow that concept to hold them back, especially if they live in a higher cost of living area. And I don't know how else to say it. Is it's possible with the
Yeah.
right people on your team, you could do it. Don't let that hold you back.
Yeah. Well, you guys made it possible, right? You kind of, but there had to be some conversations y'all were having about, man, I don't know. This is, you know, do we try this? Do we go ahead and try to put it up on the market? Like, how much of that did y'all go back and forth and really before you decided on okay, we're going to put this up as a rental and we're going to figure it out, right?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think local investing was ever even a thought of ours. It was like, should we do real estate or shouldn't we? It's not like I was born to be a real estate investor. um, I had no clue. Had I known, I would have taken a marketing class in college. That would have been
Yeah.
helpful. Instead, I have a bachelor's in music education, a master's in health administration, certified Six Sigma. Like I'm all over the place. I have been studying for a while. But sorry, I just realized you put out the record. So
no, it's fine. So for everybody who's listening or watching, my son just barged in here and I hit pause, and then Cindy and I are trying to get back on track. So anyway, Cindy, we're talking about long distance real estate investing. And for y'all, you were saying it's not, it was never an issue. Like, are we investing locally or whatnot?
Yeah. I don't even think investing locally was a thought of ours because we knew we move on average every 2 years. And so inevitably we are going to be long distance real estate investors, whether we like it or not. So our thought process is, do we invest in real estate or don't we? After I had to give up my job as a music teacher about 5 years ago and support my husband and be the mom that I needed to be, I got really passionate about our personal finances, went crazy about paying off our just our loans and in general, like our debt. And then after that, I was like, okay, so we're debt free. That took a whole 3 years, by the way. But it was like, now what? Now what? Investing came up. And so we were doing the stock market, investing heavily in that. But I realized that there was a more efficient way. Like the people who were in the financial independence, retire early community, a lot of them who were accumulating wealth seemed to have been doing so through real estate. And I was like, I need a piece of that pie. So it was a matter of, are we going to invest in real estate or aren't we? And if we are, I don't want to be the military couple who is collecting a house everywhere we move. Like I wanted to focus on like the one thing, we talk about the one market, and being high school sweethearts, all our family are in the same area. And I'm just going to put this out there. My husband grew up Amish, and he has some really awesome contractors in his family
Talented
that we can
trust.
Yeah. So it kind of seemed like a no-brainer that we would start there. We're realizing as we grow our portfolio that New York, especially in COVID times, New York is not the most landlord friendly state, but I don't think we would change it. So.
Are y'all, with everything that's going on with COVID, and you've talked about some things in the mastermind, which we don't have to get into because what happens in the mastermind stays in the mastermind. We'll leave it that. And so I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but Cindy is a member of the W2 Capitalist Mastermind, and Vest in New York. There's a lot of things that's going on in there. Did you, with COVID and with moratoriums, if I'm even saying that word correctly, you will let me know. I know. Have you decided to look at other markets? Right. I mean, I know y'all got, how many units do y'all have in New York?
We are up to 4 properties and 11 doors. Okay. 5 of which have been rented. We're about to get the 6th one rented like any day now. It's been a process. Out of all those,
I did a fist bump or like a choo-choo pulling the horn down for getting it rented. That's awesome.
Oh, well, just had to get it finished. Oh my goodness. Anyway, that's a story in and of itself. But out of all our tenants, we do have one who is very much enjoying the moratorium. And that hurts. He's over $5,000 behind. It hurts. But Fortunately, we're pretty conservative in our leverage, and so we are able to foot the bill. I hope that he will, do what he signed on the dotted line to do one day, but we'll see. But
What's the plan? What's the plan there? What is, do y'all even have one now? Or do you have to wait until
we got to
over?
wait till at least the beginning of the year, unfortunately.
Okay. Why the beginning of the year? What happens then?
Well, Governor Cuomo stretched the moratorium till the end of the year. And so, and then who knows what's going to happen after that.
I saw an article the other day, popped in my news feed, and it was something like, by the end of the year, Americans will be, I want to say it was 70, I can't remember if it was million or billion, behind on rent.
Yeah.
And I want to say it's with a B. I want to say it was with a B because, and I got to thinking, man, if there are people who don't practice what you guys do and don't leverage yourself completely, right? I said that correctly. Basically, you have the proper reserves to help with that. There's going to be a lot of people hurting. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for investors like yourself and for like me who have been conservative to take advantage of that, right? But how do you come back, you specifically, even though the moratorium is going to be up and your tenant's already $5,000 behind? How are you going to work with him to get it back on track, or is it possible?
Well, we've been trying to work with him. I had one other tenant who did get behind, but like she genuinely was like, I'm trying. I'm so sorry. Like we worked out a payment plan. She's caught up. Like I was prepared as a landlord. I think as investors, we get this rap that we're greedy little people.
Oh, yeah.
But we're not.
I'm not a little person, but I might be greedy.
Yeah. No,
or I'm not a little, and I'm also not greedy. How about that?
Right. I gotcha. So anyways, I mean, we were prepared for this. Like when COVID happened, I had a moment of like, hey, we got this. And if our tenants need help, we can work it out. All is well. We are the type of landlords, like we put everything we had into these properties so that our tenants had a place that they could be proud of and call home. Those are the kind of investors and landlords we are. So I was excited to be in that kind of position. I know not all investors are or landlords. And unfortunately, then the tenants feel that too. But this particular tenant is sporting 2 luxury cars out in his driveway and just simply is not paying because he doesn't have to. And that hurts. That's like a slap in the face. And it's like, you do understand, like we put everything we had into this, this building for you. And then, this happened.
Do you think he will catch up?
I don't know. Honestly,
depends on what the governor puts in place, probably.
At this point, I know that he's looking at moving into another property, and I would just kind of be relieved for him to leave so we can put somebody else in. So I considered cash for keys, but that's just like salt to the wound. And I was talking to my property manager. We think there's like some deeper issues involved here. Unfortunately, and potential recreational habits that were picked up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah. No, it's, well, that I doubt the moratorium says anything about letting people stay in their property if they're allowing and doing illegal drugs.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, he's definitely broken his lease. He has a huge dog in there that was not
approved. No deposit, nothing. Yeah.
Nothing.
So
I do believe I talked to my lawyer. I do believe we could probably pursue eviction, but the moment he says COVID, like judges don't want to touch it. They can't. Not to mention you have to get them to actually show up. So basically when I talked to my lawyer, he said it was going to be a waste of money to attempt to evict right now.
Have you had any conversation with the tenant, like as far as, I mean, I'm sure when I say that, your property manager have any conversations with the person to ask, hey, are you going to catch up or whatnot? Because I'm sitting here thinking, well, if you're going to waste your money and go do an eviction, then he's going to know that you're upset, and then he's probably going to trash your place, right? I mean, he's got nothing to lose at this point, right? He's
I don't know. We got pictures of his property because we just did
walkthrough,
not a walkthrough. Why can't I think right now?
inspection,
The appraisal. We just did an appraisal.
Gotcha.
And so that's when we found out about the dog. He's like, yeah, your appraiser doesn't want to come in here because the dog's not very nice when I'm not here.
Oh, wow.
Like,
how nice.
What dog? So he did send pictures, and the house looks like it's straight out of a magazine. So what do you do with that? The guy's just not paying. So
yeah, that's, I don't know. When I rent a place, I don't want people to pay me so that it looks like it's out of a magazine. I want them to pay me.
No, you're right.
That's what our contract says.
Right.
Yeah.
So part of me is just hoping that he will move in to this other property, and then we can, get the judgment on him later. But in the meantime, get somebody else in there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see where it goes. It is what it is.
Back up a minute. You said something earlier. You became really passionate about personal finances. And I think you and I have shared our stories about Dave Ramsey, and kind of that was the person who helped us get our trains back on the track. But then like baby step number 2 or number 3, we're both like, there's got to be more than this. I don't want to live in my parents' basement and be okay with that. No offense, mom and dad, if you're listening. Probably not. But anyway, but what was it that triggered you to really get passionate about your personal finances?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had to make the choice to either stay in Kansas and carry on my job with a baby while my husband went off to school, which I almost did, or I had to do what was right for my family and put my career on the back burner and move with him. And so ultimately I decided, it's not fair to him or our newborn daughter to keep them apart for 6 months when later on it won't be a choice, because the military is going to deploy them, which did happen.
What happens?
Yeah. And so I decided to give up my career and move with him. And we went from 2 incomes to 1. And granted, he was the bread maker. But I, still brought in like $2,300 a month. Nothing, very impressive. But at the end of the day, now we don't have $2,300. And we were about $60,000 in debt between, I had about $30,000 in student loans, which, by the way, I worked my tail off in college, multiple jobs, about $20K on our car that we kind of got in a pinch because my car caught on fire going to Kansas to visit him. And then about $10,000, on credit card, but that was because we paid for our own wedding. We dated for 4 years, but then we had a 5-month engagement because he was supposed to deploy. And I'm like, dude, I'm not waiting another 2 years. So between that and our honeymoon, and then he was a groomsman at a destination wedding, it added up. So anyways, and now we have a baby. Like, okay, we gotta, my mother-in-law was in town, and she goes, where's y'all's money going? Like, it felt like we were living paycheck to paycheck, because we kind of were. We were paying extra on our debt anyway. We were never like irresponsible, but it was like, man, I don't know. So it forced me, that moment forced me to sit down and be like, okay, where is it going? And, with the Dave Ramsey program, they teach you how to give a name for every dollar. And when we got the budget down, all of a sudden, even with just 1 income, it felt like we got a raise. And it was really cool to feel like, even though I'm no longer bringing in an income, that I was contributing in that way. Yeah. So sorry about that. Somebody was trying. So we ended up paying off $60,000 in less than 3 years on just my husband's income. And that's probably about how much he made a year. So there was a lot of sacrifice involved. But it gave us a really good foundation in delayed gratification. And I believe that kind of training, if you will, is totally necessary to an investor's success, especially in real estate, where things don't happen overnight.
They don't. And for people who are, I think that's a huge, huge point you just made, especially for folks who are, they're sitting on the sidelines, they're consuming all the podcasts, they're in the groups, they're in the communities, and they see all these success stories. What they don't see is what took them there, right? Matter of fact, right before this, I recorded something. I don't know that a whole lot of people know this, but from the time that my wife and I decided, all right, we're going to be real estate investors, to the time that we closed on our first deal, it was 4 years that went by. And of course we missed the biggest buying window that's happened since the Great Depression or whatnot. But it's okay. It's okay. We're fine now. And I have to remind myself it's cyclical and it's coming back around. I truly believe that. It's just not, it's maybe taking a little longer than I expected, but I do
Yeah.
think it's coming back around. The delayed gratification, are you teaching that to your kids now? And if so, how?
Oh, 100%. I part of me as a parent, and I feel like it's a hard job to be a parent, and you're like, am I doing this right? What is the best way to teach these lessons to our children? Like, my husband and I did not come from much at all, and we're very blessed, and I never want our children to feel entitled. And
Yeah.
so one example that happened recently is, my children know the difference between wants and needs. And, we talk about that often.
How did you teach them that?
Well, usually when we're at the store and they're like, Mommy, I want this, or Mommy, I need this. Well, do we really need it? And also I make it a point to have them put it back. I'm not going to put it back for them because I don't want them to get attached to it. So anyways, they know the difference between wants and needs. We have that conversation constantly. And if Mommy and Daddy's going to make sure your needs are met. But if there's something that you want, we're going to talk about how you can earn it. And and so that's a really big deal in our household. So recently I had a conversation, I think this happened just yesterday, with my neighbor, and they had some ice cream truck coming to they had an ice cream truck coming to the school. And my daughter's been going out and getting her own gum, so she doesn't have the $3 to get the ice cream right now. And so my neighbor's like, hey, do you have $5 I can, borrow to give to my son? I'm like, okay, whatever, to each their own. I was like, I told her, like, my daughter's going to sit this one out. And she's like, put a sad face, and I'm like, she didn't earn it. Like, we had 2 days notice. She didn't have it saved up. This is something she wants. And I was like, it's going to build character. Yeah. So, and I had a conversation with my daughter, Eliana, who's 5, yesterday. I'm like, so did the ice cream truck come today? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, and you didn't get anything? No. And I'm like, but that's okay. We can earn some money later so that next time, you're ready to go. And she's like, yeah. So, it builds character.
It does. And one of the things I've been trying to get my, matter of fact, what he was wanting to do, he's been interrupting me. He got in trouble. He got his iPad taken away, which I know you don't do the whole device thing with your kids. And
we do.
Don't know how. Oh, you do? Okay.
Sparingly. We do.
Okay. Well, we don't do it sparingly. So he got his taken away a while ago, like a few days ago. I've been trying to figure out how he could get it back. And so he's just finished up his soccer season, and anytime during the soccer season when he messed up or got in trouble, whatnot, then his punishment was, hey, we're going to go do more soccer drills. Right. Mm-hmm. So I told him yesterday that, hey, in order to get your iPad back, we've got to do these soccer drills. And he's been bugging me all morning to do it. Well, the other thing, so a lot of that's just kicking and just repetition and whatnot, but I also wanted to work on his speed and getting faster. So we set up these cones in the yard or whatnot, and we'll go out there and he'll run, and I'll say, okay, that's your baseline time. If you beat that, I'll give you $1, right? You're going to earn $1. Mm-hmm. And damn it, I think he knows that if you run slow the first time, then he can earn like $4 or $5. Because when he earns like $4 or $5, he goes, okay, Daddy, I'm done. I want to go in and spend my money on whatever game that he's been wanting to get or whatever. And I'm like, I need to refresh these rules a little bit. I'm going to go, like, one day he took me for like $11, and I was like, wow, something's wrong. Anyway, or he was actually doing it, and he's really improved on his soccer skills, and he's learning the idea of earning money, right? And at 6, which is incredible. He thinks what I do, I get money from the internet because I do internet videos and stuff. I'm like, not yet, but it'll come, right? You said something earlier too, that you guys invest in the stock market. Are you still investing?
I guess in terms of my husband's IRA, because he has a 100% match on the first 5%, but that's it. Having that said, like, we were pretty heavy investing into the stock market in the beginning. And towards, like, I think it was in March, I ended up taking my Roth IRA and transferring it over to a self-directed IRA through Quest Trust Company. I'll throw that in there.
There you go.
And so
sponsor of the podcast, previous sponsor of the podcast. By the time this comes out, they will have rolled off, and but they do great work. I'm still with them. Highly recommend them. They're just not paying me to do so. So there you go. Gotcha. But okay. I love it. I love that you did that, because they are the best at it for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my money's just kind of been chilling there for the last, I don't know, since March. What is that? 8 months, 9 months. So I finally, as of like 2 days ago, put that to work into real estate. And so that's super exciting that I got to roll out one more deal before the end of the year, which made me feel better.
Now, is this the creative thing that you posted the other day inside the group?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about this. I have never heard of this before, but just kind of lay out the scenario there a little bit about the whole thing. Because when you posted this, my jaw literally dropped. I was like, people do this? Like, this is how they get into deals? So let's talk about it.
Well, okay. So I met this particular person through a real estate education company that I invested in a couple years ago. And he went through it as well. And he told me about this business model about 1.5 years ago that he was doing, because it doesn't require a lot of money to get started. So the word is arbitrage. And what they do is they rent out properties or apartments, and then they sublet it. And of course, the owner of the property knows about it, and they're okay with this. They might charge a little extra for rent because obviously it's higher risk on their part. That's his job to figure that out.
Yeah.
So, but he's been doing it for like the past 1.5 years. He's up to, after this month, I think he'll be over 20 units that he's doing it in Kansas City. And he has a designer who comes in and designs the apartment and purchases all the furniture and so forth. And then they basically, it's an Airbnb, and people come and they pay premium prices to stay in this property. So it might cost like $1,000 to rent out a month, but they're bringing in $3,000. And then after expenses, they're probably cash flowing, I don't know, $500-600, whatever it might be. So what I did, they just started taking on partners because they kind of ran out of lending power.
Yeah.
So basically my money is secured first month rent, security deposit, the cost of the furniture, I think the security system and so forth. So everything to get it started. And so until now, mind you, I will say, they're projecting 30 to 40% cash on cash, which sounds amazing when you first hear that, right? But
seems a little too unreal, but
yeah, but at the end of the day, it's a riskier investment because my money is being invested in basically furniture. And the furniture depreciates super fast. So even at the end of the day, if you were to sell it, you might be lucky if you get 5% back. Whereas typical investments, you're investing in real estate and you have equity, right? Because you're arbitraging this, there is no equity to be had, but it's risk and reward, right?
Yeah. So how much money did you invest in this deal? What are some of the, like, when will you get your money back, and how are you going to be, how are distributions going to be made and all that sort of stuff? Because I've never heard, I mean, you were the first one really when I saw this. I was like, because I know people who do Airbnb arbitrage, And I don't know, it just freaks me out that I don't know why. I guess is my conservative nature, but
Yeah.
when I heard or I saw your post and said, hey, I just partnered on a deal, an Airbnb arbitrage, because I'm giving him money to furnish the place and make it look amazing. I was like, I kind of like this because you're not putting a whole lot at risk, even though it's higher risk, but you're not putting a whole lot at risk, right? To get into and I'm just sitting here thinking of how I can, because multifamily is just
Mhm.
oversaturated. People are paying stupid prices right now. And I'm like, all right, what do I do? Like I'm shifting my plan in 2021, which is when this is going to air, is to focus on single family again and kind of get
Mhm.
back to that, because I think there's going to be more opportunities or more lucrative opportunities there because of where we're at in the cycle and everything that's going on with the
Mhm.
economy and whatnot. Um, but how do you? I forgot what I was going to say.
The
How did
number.
you? Yeah, let's talk about the numbers. Like let's just say you put $5,000 in, right?
Mhm.
When will you get that $5,000 in, and how long are you expected to be part of the deal? Or once your money's paid back with the anticipated returns, or are you out of the deal? How does that whole what's the structure of the agreement look like?
So I would go as far as saying that there's more risk in this than you would think,
Okay.
especially with COVID. However, he made a good point. January and February, where like COVID's really going to be ramping up, and in March they're expected to have a vaccine. He would rather that to be, the months that it happens versus the summer months when they're, most potent and things are happening. So basically the next few months we're going to try to break even kind of thing. I'll come out with the numbers. It was 19K that I invested.
Okay.
um there was an initial like setup fee, which I paid them to basically find the property and put this deal together and manage it essentially. And I'll say it was like a significant amount of that investment. But after we have 2 months of cushion, I will get 100% of returns back, and they're projecting to have my money back in 3 to 4 years. And then we're going to keep going up to either 10 years or until I've gotten my money back plus 300%. So whichever happens
Gotcha.
first.
Okay. So 10 years or 300% return. Is that
In
correct?
addition to my initial,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you think Airbnb is going to be around in 10 years? I think some form of it, but the company,
Um,
who
Possibly. Now,
knows?
Airbnb is the most popular, but there are other
There are
online
like,
travel companies that are coming up and making an appearance. Actually, the person that I invested in, he is starting to diversify and use other platforms because he had something that just happened recently. A customer called and complained that his cleaning staff came in while they were still there, which is a huge no-no. And then you're going to go under investigation. And so because that happened, his account went under investigation. Mind you, he has amazing ratings and whatnot, but literally nobody could book any more bookings through him, which is a huge, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
through
Um,
Airbnb because his account was put on hold.
yeah. And so
Wow.
he has all these cameras. And so the cameras proved that particular person who was stayed way past like the time they were supposed to check out. And so the cleaning
Yeah.
people came on time. Like that was no fault of their own, but they have this investigation going on, and now all of a sudden bookings can't be done beyond that. So this guy is really on his toes, and he, after consulting other people in the industry, he ended up recreating an entire new account. He's going to lose all those reviews and whatnot, but at least they can move forward and continue to get
Book.
bookings. So,
Yeah.
and that took him hours upon hours, and that was even with systems and processes and software that he has invested in that fortunately made that take less time. But either
Yeah.
way, it was
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was a really big crisis. And so because of situations like that, I think Airbnb will be around, but they're going to have more competition.
Yeah. I think you're right. And I'm always confused, like, because we bought a couple of lease to own condos, or actually there was one that we purchased, and we were doing VRBO, right?
Mhm.
And then I lived in this neighborhood that allowed vacation rentals. I was on the HOA and in charge of the website or whatnot. And a lot of those folks put their stuff on VRBO or whatnot. And then it's almost like Airbnb came to the picture and everybody's like, oh, I can go online and book somebody's personal house. I'm like, you've been able to do that for years, but whatever Airbnb did, they just kind of blew it up, and it's all about the marketing. That's really,
Yeah.
really cool though. I've never heard of that. I'm tempted to ask you to introduce me to your friend, even though I've got this rule about investing.
He does have two more properties that need to be funded, but
All right,
yeah.
let's talk offline then, because
Yeah,
I am
absolutely.
interested about getting creative. I also want to get out of my not too far, but I want to get out a little bit of my conservativeness, right?
Mhm.
And it doesn't sound like the investment is something that's super crazy from our standpoint, that I'd
Yeah,
be looking at it and like, okay, well, if I lose that, then I'm okay.
right. And it
Or if I'm,
certainly helps that I know the person, like I know who he is
yeah,
and what kind
yeah.
of like type A person he is. So,
And back to what you're talking about earlier about with you know, with it being Airbnb being kind of, I don't know, say shut down, but people are not traveling as much because of COVID, and it's probably going to get worse here as people get more indoors and cold weather comes around or whatnot, since it is a type of flu, right?
mhm,
Is that I fully believe that once we get past this, whatever the case is, that the people are going to be so cooped up in their houses that
mhm,
when they feel more comfortable to go, everybody's going to start going. And you probably can't have enough Airbnbs in your portfolio to make sense, right? But that's a
yeah,
risk. That's a risk for the investment. But I truly believe that once we're over this, and I don't think, honestly, I don't think it's going to be until a couple of years. Those
mhm.
people who are doing the Airbnb arbitrage or actually do their own Airbnb personal properties, they're going to be sitting in a very good spot.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing, and it's an argument that this person made is, November was their busiest month out of the entire year, and that's
Is it
never the
normally?
case. No, not even close. And they can't quite explain it, but at the end of the day, the it's society that drives the economy.
Yeah.
Government can, try to put their foot down as much as they, want, but at the end of the
Yep.
day, it's us that's going to drive the economy. Um, and also, Airbnb is kind of starting to. I'm not going to act like I'm a professional because I'm not. This is just, but they're starting to make a pivot a little bit because COVID is changing these times, and all of a sudden, there's
Yeah.
a lot of people who can now work from home,
Yeah.
and they can now make their home wherever they want it to be. And so, especially these younger millennials who don't have like a family tying them down, they're doing the suitcase life and they're staying a month at a time, in this
Wherever.
city and then in this city. So some Airbnbs are making it so it's a little longer stays, let's say a month. And usually, those are professionals who are doing
Yeah.
this. And so then they market to that um those people. So that's something else that's going on.
What attracts people to go to Kansas City though?
Are you
Nothing,
kidding me?
nothing against
Okay.
Kansas City folks. I've never been. I've never been. I don't
Mhm.
know, from being from the Southeast, and I apologize to everybody who's listening from Kansas City. It's not like I said you were Detroit,
You do
anything like
realize
that.
that's like one of the biggest multifamily markets that everybody's looking at right now, right?
I don't, but
It's
because,
huge.
well, when I think of where I want to go vacation or someplace I want to travel,
Uh-huh.
Kansas City's not on the radar, because living in the Southeast, it's either you go to the mountains or you go
Uh-huh.
to the beach, right? It's just
Well,
never popped up in my little peon brain, I guess. So what attracts people to Kansas City?
I used to live in Kansas. My daughter was born there in Manhattan, Kansas. So we were about 2.5 hours, I think, west of Kansas City. I can't think right now. So anyways, I remember shortly after she was born, I was flying out of Kansas City because it was the biggest airport. And I happened to fly on the weekend that the Royals, which is a baseball team there, was playing in the World Series. And then also the
Which
Kansas
had to be
City
a
Chiefs.
really long time ago, by the way.
It was like 5 years ago. 5 years,
I don't
seriously.
know.
And they made it like two out of 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and then the Kansas City Chiefs were playing as well. So everybody wanted to get, first of all, you definitely want to get to the World Series. And then everybody wanted to get to their game, their football game. And so here I am, stay-at-home mom with my 5-month-old baby, and they're like handing out $1,000 vouchers to give up my seat. I gave up my seat twice. I was like, okay, I'll go stay at the hotel. I got nothing better to do. You guys go enjoy your games. But then there's NASCAR there too. So there's some really good medicine happening there. It's Kansas City. I don't know what else to
So
say.
it's a place I need to go to, apparently. I need to link up with your buddy and get one of his Airbnbs and take the family. I don't know. That means we're getting on a plane and I'm not wearing a mask. So I don't know. I don't know.
You can stay at my Airbnb.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Absolutely.
They have really good barbecue and music there too. So
yeah. See, again, being from the South, it's I don't know. I know every like region of the U.S. has its own little barbecue spot.
Yeah.
Tennessee's got some pretty good barbecue and some really good music. So does Mississippi. Actually, that's probably the only thing Mississippi has going on. Sorry, Mississippi folks. You know it's true. That and pine trees. You guys have a lot of pine trees. All right. So I'm loving the conversation, but unfortunately we have like 5 minutes and we're done. So I want to go to the section. It's called Off the Wall, right? Where I'm going to ask you 3 random questions. You cannot, as earlier before I hit record button, if I ask anything you don't want to answer, I should have put out the disclaimer. You have to answer these questions. I'm just joking. These are family friendly. I filter them out. It's from this app that I have, but here we go. Actually, what I should say is let me find a family friendly question. This is a good one. What's the first impression you want to give people?
The first impression that I want to give people. Oh, these are deep. That I'm a genuine, generous person. Like if I can help you, if I can take the shirt off my back, like I'm that person for you. Like,
which you have done that before when you were 14 in band camp. We were talking about that earlier. That was not on purpose though, right?
That was not on purpose. Nope.
and what I was telling Cindy about earlier, just trying to, we were just chatting before I hit the record button. Earlier this week, I was on a Zoom call with my coach and everybody else who's in part of that coaching program. And I had to lead in the group, and I made everybody stand up, and I was getting hot. I had this pullover on because we're got like 30-degree weather here in Florida. And I went to take my pullover off real quick. And I did it so quickly that my shirt came off with it. So then I'm on the Zoom call with no shirt on. So anyway, and then Cindy shared with us her embarrassing story when that similar thing happened when she was 14 at band camp.
Fun time.
All right, so here's a good one. Do you like to plan things out in detail or be spontaneous? I think I know your answer based on some of the stuff we've talked about before, but
honestly, it's a mix of the two. I am a planner. It's what I do, but there are moments, I feel like this is a cop-out answer, but there are moments that I do enjoy being spontaneous. I think that's me reaching into my pre-kids life. Okay. So being a mother, like I've become very, you have to.
You know? I don't know other way around it. Cause you want your kids to be on some sort of schedule because if not, then there's nothing more disturbing than a toddler who didn't get their nap or didn't sleep through the night or anything like that. Yeah. So
100%.
Yeah. All right. So question number 3, and then we're going to get out of here. If you had to design a playground for adults, what is one thing that you'd put on it?
One thing. Wow. A playground for adults. Oh my gosh. I don't know. There's got to be a bar. Like,
and what are they serving at that bar? What's the most popular drink?
Well, You know what? You know what my favorite drink is?
That's what I'm asking. Yeah.
My favorite drink, I mean, my most popular drink is, because it's keto friendly, is Diet Pepsi and tequila. Everybody thinks I'm crazy for it. But I do enjoy margaritas. So crazy. I guess anything with tequila.
All right. Anything with tequila at the playground for adults.
Yeah, but Jay's not allowed because he can't drink tequila.
I can't. I become an angry, bigger asshole than I am normally. Yes, when I drink tequila, it gives me fighting courage, and I don't like that.
Interesting.
I do not like. Yeah,
I've heard of tequila doing other things, but I don't know about angry.
It just makes me angry. I don't know. I guess it's sad to say that I've drank enough to realize that is something I need to stay away from.
Well, at least you
even margaritas. I don't think I may have had one margarita since my wife and I've been together, and that's been a while.
Gotcha. So what is your drink choice?
It's gonna be some type of bourbon or whiskey, just drowning in some ice cubes. Nothing fancy. I don't care. Right now I'm on this kick for my uncle introduced me to William Wolf pecan whiskey. It is really good. It is really good.
You know what? I remember you posting about that.
So when this airs, we're going to be a couple of days, you and I and a couple other members from the mastermind group, we're going to be doing the 75 hard. So we're if we listen to this again, we're going to be like, the days.
I know. I was just thinking like in 28 days, we'll be alcohol free.
It seems really close, but you're correct. 28 days. Oh my gosh.
Something like that. I just pulled that out of him. Yeah.
I feel like I should make up for lost time and start drinking.
I was most nervous about that, but it was honestly one of the easiest parts of 75 hard.
Yeah. The biggest thing I'm worried about is the diet, and I think I figured out a way to hack that, even though I think
Jay, you get out of it what you put into it.
I know. I'm gonna get so much out of it. But I want to make it to where I can be successful. So, yeah, the drinking alcohol is not gonna be a big thing. I am gonna miss my bowls of cereal at night, so I'm trying to figure out a diet to work that in, and I think I figured that out. So.
Well, for me, I know, like, instead of doing the keto diet, even though I was over 90% of the time I was keto, I just said low carb, so that if I had a chicken nugget, I didn't fail. So
I love it.
Yeah.
It's low carb. There you go. Well, Cindy, I have enjoyed the conversation. I will see you tonight, hopefully in the mastermind call. But if somebody wants to get a hold of you and talk about all the things that we've talked about here, or any of the things that we've talked about here, getting your personal finances in order, getting to do some long distance investing in real estate, or the Airbnb arbitrage, furniture investing, I don't even know how to label it. What is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. I kind of live there, Cindy Byler. There's not many of me. And then also on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to me via email at cindybyler@gmail.com.
cindybyler@gmail.com.
Yes,
awesome.
Sir.
I got that. I will put it in the show notes, and I will see you tonight. Sounds great. Thanks, Jay. All right, we'll see you. All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Cindy. Truly inspiring, amazing story. I am lucky enough to hear her week after week talking the mastermind about what she's accomplishing. She is a member of the W2 Capitalist Mastermind, and it's extremely inspiring. A mom taking care of the couple of young kids while her husband's been deployed, and being able to do all this stuff is just simply. It's amazing. It is freaking amazing. So I have a few next steps for you. So step number one, connect with Cindy. She primarily hangs out on LinkedIn and Facebook. So I'm going to put both those links in the show notes below or in the description below, wherever you're watching this. The second step from here is let me know. Let me know what resonated with you through this interview. Was something that you agreed with, something you disagreed with. I know a lot of you like to email me your disagreements because you don't want to put that on public, which that's fine too. I'm at j@w2capitalist.com. Either way, let me know. Let me know what you think. And then the third step, I want to see you in this next video right here.